Should Bob Stoops be on the hot seat?
Backyard. This is your spot.
I did. Born and raised Oklahoma Sooner fan. I want you to understand, I know Bob Stoops. I like him very much personally. I believe in his character and his honesty and his heart and his guts, and I want him gone. I've wanted him gone for 3 years. For 3 years. I've been on the record. He has been allowed to stay too long at the school and the team that I love, that I grew up loving. Bob Stoops, back in 1999, broke through in his second year at the University of Oklahoma, and they won a national championship with an overachieving quarterback. Speaking of overachieving, Josh Heupel, who was just a nice little college quarterback, and a team that was an 18-point underdog in the national championship game to Florida State.
Right.
And they pulled it off, and he's been living on that ever since. He is a very good recruiter and an extremely poor, all-time worst motivator before big games. So many collapses, so many big letdown games on big national stages. Remember when they lost to Boise State in the bowl game? Remember when they lost to West Virginia 48-28? Remember when they lost to Clemson 2 years ago 40-6? These are bowl games. Remember the national championship game against Southern California that they lost 55-19? There was a conference championship game the year they went on to play and lose to LSU.
Kansas State.
Remember Kansas State game? That was 35-7.
Yep.
And then I can go on. Baylor at Norman 2 years ago scored 45 unanswered points. And Texas last year was a bad football team under Charlie Strong, and they beat my Oklahoma Sooners. And then Saturday at Houston against a very good Houston team, Houston was much readier to play that football game than my Sooners were.
While a lot of what you just said is true, the grass is not always greener. You know, you may be tired of your same pillow, but that doesn't mean that you throw your pillow away to get a good night's sleep. Bob Stoops in his 17 years has become the all-time winningest coach at the University of Oklahoma. This is a place with Barry Switzer and Bud Wilkinson. This is a storied program,
But
one
that's
of the
just
top
by
2
pure
or 3.
tenure. That's just by longevity.
Maybe, maybe not. You still have to go out there and win double-digit, win seasons in a number of different seasons. He's won 9 Big 12 championships. That's 3 times as many as the next nearest team in his tenure at Oklahoma. What I felt like was disappointing for Oklahoma was that the plan offensively deviated from what they were successful with at the back end of last season, okay? And so if you're going to point at anybody, and I know it ultimately falls on Bob, and I'm sure he's going to get this corrected, but Lincoln Riley, the offensive coordinator, he did not have the correct game plan against Houston. I'm going to give you a couple of numbers here, and bear with me here. They had 26 total rushes. 13 of those were from Baker Mayfield. Remember in the college game, sacks count as a rush, so 5 of them were sacks. That's 21 called running plays. But then when you really look at the game, he had 5, 6, maybe even 7 pass plays that Mayfield ran. So you're talking about one of the most powerful running teams in the country with 2 great backs, Joe Mixon and Samaje Perine.
Yeah, Perine got knocked out early, but he came back.
He was battling some injury issues.
Yep.
They called 15 or 16 running plays, period, in the game.
Yep.
That's not a game plan that you're going to be successful with. 5 of those rushes were on the first series. They go right down the field and score, and then they abandon the run game. Bob Stoops has the ability to fix what's going on. We've seen Les Miles not be able to fix what's going on with Cam Cameron over a number of years. Bob did it last season. After the Texas loss, they righted the ship, they committed to the run game and got to the playoff. That's why you don't throw Bob Stoops out. That's why he's not on the hot seat. Not to mention, guys, just in the structure of college football here, athletic directors and presidents fire coaches, okay? He's coached for the same athletic director, Joe Castiglione, and the same president for the entire time. Those guys are not getting rid of Bob Stoops anytime soon, nor should they, because he's a great coach who was just in the playoff.
I think he's a very good coach. I wouldn't go as far as just call him great, Skip. You have Sam Bradford, who went first in the draft, Gerald McCoy, who went third, Lane Johnson, who went fourth. You don't play for a national championship? If Nick Saban had the first, third, and fourth pick in the NFL draft, what do you think? If he had the first pick at the quarterback, what would Nick say? If Nick Saban ever had a quarterback?
We might see you with Jalen Hurts in a couple of years. I mean, that's how special he is. I get what you're saying. I understand that. But they did play for a national title with Sam Bradford. They lost it the beloved Tim
Tebow,
Tebow
they
and
did.
the Florida team because they didn't execute inside the 5-yard line. They were inside the 5-yard line 4 times in that 08 championship game, came away with 3 points in the first half. If they go up 14 or 21 on a guy that can't throw the ball at all, then they're going to win that national championship going away.
Joel,
I just think he out-talents people. I think he gets incredible talent because he can go into Texas and get those guys that Texas and Texas A&M down in the SEC weren't getting.
Sure.
But now
heck,
Texas
he can go to L.A. and get guys.
But now that Texas might be on the come up, he's going to have a harder time going into Texas getting those big name guys.
I will say this, the margin for error is next to nothing for Stoops now. They come in ranked 3rd in the country. People are expecting him to go to the playoff again, a heavily favored team in the Big 12. But, Skip, this is not time to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah,
I mean, this is when you stand by a coach at this point. Because
Skip
they can right the ship.
Skip is tired of him getting crushed in bowl games. That's what's breaking Skip heart.
Bowl games don't really matter unless
I kept
they're
hearing
for all
about
the
big
marbles.
game Bob for the longest time. It's big game boob too often. Too many big game embarrassments. I've watched it too long. I know I'm spoiled rotten here, but too many humiliations.
What happens when and if, a game that Gus and I will be at, they host Ohio State in a couple of weeks, next week, and they win that game? What are you saying the next Monday
They
morning?
have done themselves in losing to Houston. You know it, and I know it.
They'll be right back. They'll be right back in the
know.
conversation.
Ohio State, they look good. That Barrett kid, he might be in the Heisman race before
Absolutely.
the next couple of games.
We got to leave it there. Thanks so much for joining us, Joel.
Yeah, thanks for having us.